The death of the ostrich cases, Mr. Justice, do you have any thoughts about the case not proceeding?
Obviously, we're pleased to see the decision of the Supreme Court.
Trust the science!
Of course, it'll be obvious later in the show why I chose that as our intro video, because it's still punishing Katie and her family and the farm. So we'll get to that later, but welcome, Nico, my friend.
Thank you. It's great what you can do with AI, right?
Yeah.
It's really...
I showed that the morning after the horrible massacre because these liberal cabinet ministers were just ecstatic about it. I thought these people are just damn right sadistic and insane. So that's why we showed that. But anyway, we'll get to that one later. I know you want to talk about Davos and the World Economic Forum and Carney's speech and Trump's rebuttal. I've been talking about this all week too. I spent most of the day talking about Davos, and I watched Trump's speech live at 8:30 yesterday morning, and I had to write a column almost literally while I was watching it to get it to Human Events so it would be timely. So I managed to do that. So I have just been working all week. But let's watch. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but let's watch a few minutes of Mark Carney's speech. And of course, the left is just going crazy over this, saying, "Oh, we haven't heard words like this since the 1970s." He reminds me of Pierre Trudeau in the 1970s.
Oh yeah, like that's a good thing. And before you play it, let's remind people, because I watched both videos all together. Mark Carney had 17 minutes on stage. Donald Trump, an hour and 35 minutes. Just saying. Saying. That's a bit of a difference there.
Yeah, I noted that too. It was quite a discrepancy, but anyway, I think I got the guts of his speech here, what most people are crowing about. If you like Mark Carney, and there's apparently still people out there who do, but this is sheer globalism. But we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it after here.
It seems that every day we're reminded that we live in an era of great power rivalry, that the rules-based order is fading, that the strong can do what they can and the weak must suffer what they must. And this aphorism of Thucydides is presented as inevitable, as the natural logic of international relations reasserting itself. And faced with this logic, there is a strong tendency for countries to go along to get along, to accommodate, to avoid trouble, to hope that compliance will buy safety. Well, it won't. So what are our options? In 1978, the Czech dissident Václav Havel, later president, wrote an essay called The Power of the Powerless. And in it, he asked a simple question: how did the communist system sustain itself? And his answer began with the greengrocer. Every morning, this shopkeeper places a sign in his window: "Workers of the world unite." He doesn't believe it. No one does. But he places the sign anyway to avoid trouble, to signal compliance, to get along. And because every shopkeeper on every street does the same, the system persists. Not through violence alone, but through the participation of ordinary people in rituals they privately know to be false. Havel called this living within a lie. The system's power comes not from its truth, but from everyone's willingness to perform as if it were true. And its fragility comes from the same source. When even one person stops performing, when the greengrocer removes his sign, the illusion begins to crack. Friends, it is time for companies and countries to take their signs down. For decades, For decades, countries like Canada prospered under what we called the rules-based international order. We joined its institutions, we praised its principles, we benefited from its predictability. And because of that, we could pursue values-based foreign policies under its protection. We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful. And American hegemony in particular helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. So we placed the sign in the window. We participated in the rituals. And we largely avoided calling out the gaps between rhetoric and reality. This bargain no longer works. Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination. The multilateral institutions on which the middle powers have relied, the WTO, the UN, the COP, the architecture, the very architecture of collective problem solving are under threat. And as a result, many countries are drawing the same conclusions, that they must develop greater strategic autonomy in energy, food, critical minerals, in finance, and supply chains. And this impulse is understandable. A country that can't feed itself, fuel itself, or defend itself has few options. When the rules no longer protect you, you must protect yourself. But let's be clear-eyed about where this leads. A world of fortresses will be poorer, more fragile, and less sustainable. And there's another truth. If great powers abandon even the pretense of rules and values for the unhindered pursuit of their power and interests, the gains from transactionalism will become harder to replicate. Hegemons cannot continually monetize their relationships. Allies will diversify to hedge against uncertainty. They'll buy insurance, increase options, in order to rebuild sovereignty. Sovereignty that was once grounded in rules but will increasingly be anchored in the ability to withstand pressure.
Okay, well, I'll just make a couple of comments and I'll leave it over to you. But of course, everybody's talking about his line, his phrase, rupture, not transition, not transition. And by the way, he's talking obviously about Donald Trump, the United States, all through this. He never once specifically says the United States, America, or Donald Trump. Unlike Donald Trump, who we'll see was not afraid to say, to call out Carney, Canada by name in his speech. But here's the line. I'm shaking my head. This is word salad Carney at his best. Integration becomes the source of your subordination. The hell does that mean? It's Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is alive and well in Canada. She's living in Mark Carney's brain. That is meaningless. But anyway, this was just music to the ears of the left. And like I say, I'm not kidding. This sounds like Pierre Trudeau at his most eloquent in the 1970s. He talked like this. Globalism was very popular in the 1970s. Trudeau was the member of the Club of Rome. They were talking about one world government at that time. It evaporated by the 1980s. But of course, we're right back there again. And Mark Carney, I'm just wondering, what the hell does he mean, rupture, not transition? He's the guy that goes to Beijing, bows at the feet of a Chinese dictator, proclaims a new world order with a communist government, and he's talking about not transitioned. Where's the rupture, Mark Carney? The rupture is you. You are the one who refuses to play ball with our greatest ally, the country that we are economically and militarily integrated with, and we have been since the Second World War, and we're attached to it in terms of geographically. The United States and Canada are on the same continent. It's Mark Carney wants to elevate China into something it's not in terms of it being a moral force. And Mark Carney is the one who wants to be a European. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I know you've got a lot more to add to this. Go ahead, Nico.
I've been speaking about this for 3 days. I watched all the addresses myself, and there's a lot just in the small video you showed, because it went for 17 something minutes. First, when I was listening to this the first time, I was laughing because he keeps on bringing up the analogy of the shopkeeper putting a sign in the forefront saying, I don't really believe in communism, but because everybody does, I'm going to put the sign because I don't want to be ostracized. It's like the same analogy as the Naked King. Yet the only thing in Canada that I see us put a sign for is climate change. That whole bullshit ideology that he's been pushing for decades, that considering he was on the board of trustees in 2019, 2020 of the WEF, he wrote, or he was part of writing the WEF's net zero climate agenda. And he has the audacity to start comparing us to fighting communism when he's a Marxist. Read his book, Values. He makes reference to Marxism. At least Karl Marx, I think, is mentioned about 40 times last time I checked. It's insane. And yet he has the audacity to tell us that the US is the problem. For 17 minutes, he blamed Trump for 11 years of terrible liberal policies, instead of accepting that the only reason we are in the situation in which we find ourselves right now is because of the 11 years of terrible liberal policies that have left our natural resources in the ground. Because he talks about a world of fortresses, that, that's dangerous if superpowers want to build walls. Guess what? You would do the exact same thing if you were a superpower, and the only reason that we are not is because 11 years of terrible liberal policies, because we have the third largest reserve of oil and gas in the world, yet we refuse to build the pipelines that we need. We want to put carbon taxes on them. We want to bring in carbon capture projects through pathways that's going to bring up the price, by my calculation, about 20% higher than the world's market. We want to align with China instead of aligning with our greatest ally, that is the US, our greatest customer as well, considering they buy 76% of our total exports. It seems that Mark Carney is doing absolutely everything possible to spit in the face of Trump, and then plays the victim when Trump takes advantage of the situation, the economic situation that he created. Because, guys, don't be fooled. Don't believe that he's only been in power for a year. He's been the economic advisor for Justin Trudeau since at least 2020, 2021, if not before that. It's just I have no proof prior to that. But he's been the one behind the puppet that was Trudeau, because Mark Carney is not a puppet. Like, Mark Carney is the head of the net zero agenda. He's the one that's been pushing it forever. He started talking about New World Order back in 2009, at least publicly, and people are outraged. They're like, the New World Order is needed to counter Trump. No, not at all. He's been talking about this for almost 20 years. Yet people are just, they're so full of Donald Trump syndrome that they cannot see past themselves and how bad our situation is about to get. We are literally choosing to call, and when I say we, I'm talking about the elbows up crowd, the people that still support Mark Carney, they're calling Trump a fascist, yet they're congratulating and celebrating Carney for aligning with the communist country of China that is ruled by an actual dictator. This is how insane the elbows up crowd actually is. They believe that aligning with China, an actual dictatorship, is a good idea. Yet that same guy, Mark Carney, back in the debates this year, I think it was in either March or April of last year, my apologies, in 2025, called China the biggest security threat to our country. Yet he's aligning with them. He wants to buy their EVs, something like 50,000. He's going to allow 50,000 EVs to come in Canada, no tariffs. And I come from the telecommunication world. There's a company called Huawei that produces great wireless equipment. But you know what? All the companies in North America do not buy them. Why? Because all the companies in China are partially owned or fully owned by the CPP, by the Chinese party. The Chinese Communist Party owns most of those companies, and they have been caught spying on people. In the world I come from in telecommunications, at least twice in the past 10 to 15 years has China rerouted something like 30% of the internet. When I say rerouted, they did what we call a middleman attack. They just said, hey, send all your traffic here. We have the best routes to your traffic. 30% of the internet went through China, got duplicated, and sent back into the world. Nobody did anything. China is not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. And Mark Carney is definitely selling us to China. Even, last week they were celebrating how they signed 8 new MOUs with China. One of them is to share security information between the two countries. Are you fucking kidding me? Not even a year ago, he's calling them the biggest threat to Canada's security. Now he wants to collaborate with them. It's absolutely insane. I cannot believe what's happening. I'm not surprised that it's happening. I'm just absolutely mind blown that people are, what a great speech. That guy's great. He's the leader of the free world. That's what the left is saying right now, that Mark Carney, the man that is pushing Bill C2, C8, C9, C12, C16, C63, and a gun grab, is the leader of the free world, the dude that wants to align with the communist country of China.
It couldn't get more Orwellian, because the world Mark Carney's creating is anything but free. But here's what I think his game is, because as we both agree, Mark Carney's not stupid, and he's always thinking in terms of advantage. Mark Carney, I think he's going to run again. I think we're going to have an election this year, and I think he's going to run again on the elbows up philosophy. And God help us, I think there's enough Canadians who are going to fall for it again. And here he is fighting Donald Trump. Here he is with his elbows up. Get those elbows up. Time to pretend we're fighting with Donald Trump. And of course, Donald Trump's reaction to his New World Order was quite interesting, because he shrugged his shoulders, almost literally shrugged his shoulders, was almost insouciant about the whole thing, and just said, well, good for Mark. You've got to sign trade deals when you have the opportunity. And I thought, he's playing with us. And of course he was, because in the following days, we've had Howard Luntz, and we had all of the other Trump administration people come forth and say, that was a pretty stupid thing Mark Carney did in China. And if he wants to be part of the New World Order with China, well, maybe the USMCA isn't going to go so well for him. And that was the word today out of the Trump administration. So he's taking a calculated gamble here by once again alienating Donald Trump, looking like he is the existential threat again to Canada, the United States. We really can't trust them. I think this is another calculated move. I'm just not sure how much of this Donald Trump is playing along with himself, because we know the two of them, have go back decades. So I'm not sure about that, but to me, this was an exercise in complete dishonesty. That is what Mark Carney is always about. Whereas the following morning, as I said, I covered Donald Trump's speech live, and I thought it was fantastic. And I thought this really is the leader of the free world talking, not Mark Carney. And unlike to identify
it is David. Mr. KRAYDEN that is frozen. Okay, I figured as much. Well, I'm not sure what he's speaking about right now, but I can tell you guys something, though. I do believe that this is, I don't know if this is where David was going with this. Oh, it seems that David was, he logged out or something happened, so I'll take over. But this is the question I have for you guys, because I'm a conspiracy theorist at heart, right? I always try to see past what they're showing us, and you can look at Trump and what he said in his hour-and-a-half address yesterday as great stuff, because he covered a bunch of stuff. He made fun of the green agenda. He said how dangerous mass immigration was. He mentioned how Europe is getting changed. It's unrecognizable. He talked about how he's going to sign an executive order which will block massive companies from buying family houses, like one family units. He's going to put another executive order to drop the interest rate on credit cards from 30% to 10% for a year, cap it at 10% for a year, to give a chance to Americans to pay their debts because of the Biden inflation. Like, he went on and on and on, and he talked about a bunch of stuff that is great for America. He called out Mark Carney directly, telling Mark Carney that he should remember to be grateful because Canada lives because of the U.S. But he also addressed Greenland, and it came out right after his address that it seems that Greenland he's made a deal with NATO. At least they called it the framework for a deal with NATO. There's more information that came out today, so I'm curious to see, but it seems that he's going to get Greenland without having to buy it. They're just going to give him the rights to extract minerals and to build all the bases that he wants. At least that's what seems to be said right now. There's not as much as information as I wish that was out. But the question I have for you guys, and I'm very interested to know what you guys think, because that's where I go back to being a conspiracy theorist. And I know a conspiracy theorist is supposed to be an insult to people. To me, it's a badge of honor. I was one way before there was a name for it. But the question I have for you guys is Trump fighting the New World Order, or is he just part of the New World Order, and what's happening between Canada, the US, and Canada and China is all just a game that they're playing? Because see it as you will, if Trump gets Greenland like he wants, maybe not his possession, but be able to use it the way that he wants, is that not taking us a step closer to one single country in North America? Because I don't know if you guys saw that, but he shared, I'm sure you guys saw it, but he shared a AI map of, it was a joke, it was an AI picture, obviously, but it showed in the background there was a map of the US, Venezuela, Canada, and Greenland, all under the colors of the US. And he's basically, he wants to say that he wants it all, but obviously we all know Trump's a mega troll. He likes to piss people off and have them react. He's like a child, right? I like to troll people too. So I like to play with people, see if they react. If they don't react, it's not fun for me, so I stop. But Trump is very good at pissing people off and having them speak about him. So do you guys think that there is a New World Order agenda that Trump is trying to fight? Or is the New World Order Trump part of? Because either way you see it, he's either fighting it, really fighting it to try to protect America, or he's just playing his game. He's just playing his role in establishing, getting closer to that New World Order. Because don't be fooled, they all know each other. Like, there's a good reason why I'm asking this, because if you look at Mark Carney, for example, he has major shares in Brookfield. And since April, Brookfield has gone up about 33%. Their shares have increased by 33%. So Mark Carney is definitely profiting from this, sending money to Ukraine, gave contracts to Westinghouse for reactors, for their nuclear reactors, worth something like 70 to 80 billion dollars. This is estimates right now. But the same thing happened in the US. Like, Trump gave Brookfield a contract that was worth 70 to 80 billion dollars for new nuclear reactors that the US will use. And what do you guys think? Because I'm curious, because I can't stop from thinking that it's all part of the same plan. They're playing us behind closed doors. They're good friends. Every time he went to the White House at the G7, they seem to be buddy. But are they? Are they not? That's the question. It's very, very interesting what's going on right now. And another thing to consider in all of this is one of the things that Trump has been bringing up, and he brought it up first, at least that's the first time I saw it, is when in his National Security Council, back in the report from his National Security Council in 2025, in December 2025, he mentioned the Monroe Doctrine. And I don't know if David speaks about this on his show. I believe he does. I believe he's very well versed on the actual Monroe Doctrine. But quick thing was established by President Monroe in 1823 to say that North America, at least the Western Hemisphere, belonged to the Western Hemisphere, that they did not want to get colonized by Europe anymore. They did not want to have new colonies here in the Western Hemisphere, especially North America. So he basically told them to stay over there, that we're taking care, we as in the US, is going to take care of here. But he didn't talk about military, because back then they weren't a force, but it was Roosevelt at the beginning of the 20th century that kind of added that, right? That's where the Roosevelt corollaries, my apologies, came into play. And he basically told them, made it clear that this belongs to us now. You have no say here. You can stay over there. If you have problems, we'll take care of it for you. And Trump in his council, in the Security Council, brought up the Monroe Doctrine. And the Monroe Doctrine, at least now they're calling it the Dunroe Doctrine for Donald Trump Doctrine, or the Trump corollary, if you will. But the whole idea, and he made reference to that. I don't know if you guys listened to his full address, his full hour and 35-minute address. I did, but he talked about that in there, where he alluded to the fact that it was his responsibility, as in the U.S. responsibility, to protect the Western Hemisphere. He made that very clear in his address. And it seems, and it makes sense to go after Groenland, because he does believe that it's part of, he does believe it's part of the Western Hemisphere. Perfect position for his Golden Dome, as he likes to say, because all the missiles that would come from Russia and China would go over very close to Greenland, not Groenland, but Greenland. So I understand why he wants it. Does he? And it seems like he's getting it. But is that not taking us closer to the one world order that we don't want to happen? At least I'll talk for myself. I don't want it to happen. This is definitely not something that I want to happen. But isn't that hard to believe that we're being played? That everything we're seeing right now is just like we see in our House of Commons in Canada, where it's all, I like to call it's WWE for adults, where the only difference is instead of ripped guys wearing all lubed up, all oiled up, it's skinny guys in suits. But we're all getting played. Is that what you guys think we're seeing right now? Because that's a question I ask myself all the time. And either way you look at it, it's either where we have the US that's trying to protect us from the New World Order and Mark Carney's pushing it, or they're both playing for the same team, because they are chummy. Like, those guys are friends. Don't be fooled. Every time you see them together, they're very chummy, and Trump is giving money to Westinghouse, as it said in the comment, that Brookfield bought. Like, they own the majority stake in Westinghouse. So they are doing business. They're clearly doing business. But just like I believe in Canada, where Pierre Poilievre is just controlled opposition to make us believe that there's the illusion, to make us believe in the illusion of choice, this could be the same exact thing that's happening right now on world politics and geopolitics, between Mark Carney, China, between Mark Carney, the US, because it's very interesting how Trump wants to take care of the Western Hemisphere, and then Carney seems to be doing everything possible to align with China. Trump is not messing around with China. He made it very clear over the past few weeks that he wants China to stay in China. He wants Russia to stay in Russia. Just look at what he did during the Ukraine war that's still going on right now. He's siding with Russia, but he's basically making it clear that he wants Russia to stay in Eurasia. And now he's starting to make it clear that he is responsible for the Western world, for the Western Hemisphere. So basically, the Western Hemisphere is under the protection or the rule of the US. Eurasia is under Russia, and then Asia is under China. So the three superpowers are kind of taking their space. And that's a bit what Mark Carney was talking about. Again, if you haven't listened to those address, I know it can be boring. I don't like to listen to either of those guys speak. I'll be honest here. As entertaining as Trump is, he taps his own shoulder way too much. He brags all the time. But either way, you guys should take the time to listen to it, because it was actually very, very revealing. So let me know what you think in the comments, because I want to take some of the comments. I want to see what you guys think. I just don't know if I have the power, because this is not my show, so I am not capable of highlighting the actual comments. But there's a bunch of good ones, and I just got a text from David KRAYDEN'S saying that his internet has a collapse. So it doesn't seem like he's going to be coming back anytime soon, or maybe I'm assuming. I'm just give me a second. I'm going to ask him. So I'm just asking him if he's try to come back, if he's done for the night, or he's trying to come back. So we'll see what he says. I'm just texting him right now. But again, I want to know what you guys think. And another question for you guys, actually, because technically it seems that we're going towards a new world order, no matter how we see it, no matter where we look. It seems it's possible everywhere. But what would you guys rather at this point, if you had a choice to become an American or to stay a Canadian under Carney aligning with China? Which one would you take? Let me, David's calling me, so I'm just going to take this for a second. Hey, David. Well, there you have it. His internet's completely crashed. He has that orange death light on his modem, so he's definitely not calling. He's definitely not coming back. But I still want to know what you guys think, because are we getting played? Is Mark Carney really aligning with China and Trump trying to fight the New World Order? Are we getting played that they're playing on the same team? They're just making us believe that it's different. Because if you look at it, the Monroe Doctrine would definitely align the Western Hemisphere altogether. And that is a massive, massive part of the world. And David earlier was talking about the Club of Rome. I don't know if you guys ever looked at a map of the Club of Rome, which has been talked about for decades now. Canada, the US, Mexico, and Greenland were section 1, I believe. Ah, shit, can I even share my screen here? Do I have the power? Yeah, I have the power. So the Club of Rome maps, I'm just going to bring it up to kind of give you an idea for the people that don't know what it looks like. It's oh, there you have it. So here's an easy one right there. Can I share my screen? Oh yes, it seems that I can. So here we are, Club of Rome right here. Oh no, I'm not able to actually share my screen. Uh-oh. Well, yeah, because my screen's not coming up. Either way, my apologies. I'm gonna make sure that I have those rights next time, so in case something happens, I can still entertain you, or at least speak to you. Or I'd love to take your comments as well, but it seems that I cannot highlight them. But I'm gonna leave you on this. I'm gonna leave you on those questions. Are we getting played? Are we getting played? Are we getting played? Because I got a feeling that we're getting played. I have no proof yet, but I got a feeling we are getting played. That being said, guys, David's not coming back. His internet's completely down. I appreciate everybody's time. I don't know if you guys know me. You don't. If you don't, I suggest you follow me on the YouTube channel. We run a show every day, well, at least Sunday to Thursday, and we talk about this stuff. I talk about what the mainstream media won't talk about. We do a lot of interviews. Big gun fans, so that's something that's I'm talking about a lot right now. We had a conversation with the VP of the National Firearm Association. I'm a gun owner, so I really don't like the gun grab that's happening right now. I talk about censorship a lot. So if you guys are interested, at Real Nico Lagan on YouTube, Instagram, X, all over the place. But I would ask that if you're interested, follow me at Real Nico Lagan. It's right there at the bottom of the screen. Outside of that, I want to thank every single one of you for sticking around. I want to thank you for being here. And hopefully we see you guys back on Thursday next week, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We will definitely continue that conversation. But until then, I wish you guys a great evening. Thank you for being here. And we will see you next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, peace out.